Before the committee, WorldCoin Chief Executive Officer Alex Blania maintained that its business in the country is genuine since the operations in Kenya was achieved through third-party agents and partners.
Let's say I'm in a chat room or I'm on Twitter, and I might as well interact with a very powerful neural network. That is one. And two, also digitally generated images are now very easy to fake. And so what this means is that the internet will be a much more complicated place. It will be much harder to trust. And we need to verify what it actually is to be a human. And that is what World ID is. World ID is a way for all of us to verify to each other that we are actually human beings and we're not neural networks. So that, and what that practically means is I might go to Twitter, I might scan a QR code and log myself in with World ID and just verify I'm an actual human being. Okay, and I already touched on this briefly. That's this art. So humanness in the age of AI is one of the core factors and one of the core motivations of WorldCoin. As AI becomes increasingly more powerful, we will need to verify ourselves online, and World ID is a privacy-preserving way to do so. World ID is, again, a way to verify yourself online. World App is a simple digital app that lets you interact with the WorldCoin protocol, so lets you use your World ID, lets you claim your WorldCoin tokens, and then last but not least, the WorldCoin token, which is, well, it's likely going to be the widest distributed crypto digital asset that gives you governance and ownership in the protocol itself. First checks that you're an actual alive human being, so you cannot fraud the orb. There's a lot of sensors in front that just detect you're not showing a display, you're not showing a printout, but you're actually there and you're an actual person. Once that step is done, it then takes a picture of the human eye and calculates a unique code. We will go deeper into this in a second, compares that against everyone else. Once that is the case, you receive your World ID.
All right, so now let's take a look at what is making headlines across the newspapers. I've got the Daily Nation, the Standard, and the Star, and basically covering almost the same issues to do with the climate summit that has just ended, as well as what happened within the ODM party as it kicked out rebels. So how about to get started perhaps on the climate on Daily Nation? What Africa wants, Climate Summit 2023, what Africa wants. Well, after 3 days of intense discussions, the inaugural African Climate Summit has taken a huge leap of faith and is now seeking to assert the continent's strong voice in the resolution of global climate challenges to which it contributes the least. And led by President William Ruto, the African leaders were crystal clear on their demands to the West. So the Nairobi Declaration is what it is called, a story that is on page 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 of the papers this morning. Now, earlier on, my colleague Geoffrey Wanyoike had filed that report on the African Nairobi Declaration, just, what is required, 6 key declarations on what the African countries want from the European countries. So the president made a media address briefly outside the KICC, surrounded by African leaders, and delivered his closing speech during the closing ceremony of the summit at the KICC. The leaders called for an overhaul of the world's debt financing system, which they said should tilt the scales in favor of a naturally endowed continent. So what we're looking at is huge debts that have been in place or have been placed by European countries when they are financing projects or, loaning money or lending money to African countries. The interest rates are much higher, almost 5 times the initial amount. Take a sample of the SGR, project that we are repaying. We will be repaying it for quite a long time to China in billions and billions of shillings, not just that, but also various key infrastructural projects. Talk about the Nairobi Expressway, that is within Kenya. Now look at other African countries, the projects that these countries are financing, Francophone countries, we have the French or France is developing key issues right there. Talk about the United Kingdom, the USA, China, there's now competition between the West and the East. So, those are some of the issues that have been put out, and the African leaders are saying, no, these are our demands, and African leaders tell the West. So it's called the Nairobi Declaration. The concern is about the 1.5 degrees Celsius limit agreed in Paris about global emissions. 1 billion African cities and urban centers are growing rapidly, and by 2050 will be home to over 1 billion people. That is about population. So African cities and urban centers are growing. It is estimated by the year 2050, which is about 27 years from now, there will be 1 billion people. Only 7 years remain to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Remember 2030, that was the vision 2030, well, it's just 7 years. So how far are we with the Sustainable Development Goals? It was also noted with concern that 600 million people in Africa still lack access to electricity. 600 million people in Africa still lack access to electricity. It was also noted that 970 million households lack access to clean cooking. So the commitments are that by the year 2050, the finalizing and implementation of the draft African Union Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan with the view to realizing 2050 vision of living in harmony with nature. Also between 2022 to 2032, those are about 10 years, there's a commitment to accelerate the implementation of the African Union Climate Change and Resilient Development Strategy and Action Plan. Now, COP27 is what happened sometime last year, where it was swiftly operationalized, the loss and damage, and that was agreed at the COP27. So we're looking forward to COP28, which also basically addresses the same issue. But what really stands out is the one voice that African countries are speaking with. The one voice African countries are speaking with, and the President William Ruto said a tally of funding pledges for the continent had reached $23 billion at the summit. So it's one thing for the West to pledge, we'll do this for you, we'll give you $4.4 billion, we'll give you a total of about 1 trillion Kenyan shillings or 7 trillion Kenyan shillings, and then they fail to do that. So it backdates or, puts to a halt at least the progress African countries are looking to make in the fight against climate change, because it plays a critical role. If you're looking at a scenario where the government, for instance, an example, the government of Kenya says, within the next 1 year or 2 years, we are setting aside 50 billion shillings for the development of the economy. But then in between, you're having drought crisis, livestock dying, there's no access to clean water for persons in various areas, particularly from the northeastern, and there seems to be having no rains there, their crops are failing. So eventually what was to go into development will have to be rechanneled to this particular group of people, because what's the point of building key projects, big buildings, when at the end of the day there's no one to use it if people succumb to effects of climate change here and there. So that is the huge point of funding, which is one of the key issues in fighting climate change. Delegates also laud Ruto for hugely successful event. Delegates laud Ruto for a hugely successful event. The president emerging as a continental voice of reason on climate issues. Also climate talks with financial pledges for Africa. You said in 200 million shillings pledge to help activate Kenya's carbon market. Experts dismiss carbon markets initiative. African MPs call for more funding for continent's climate adaptation. So various angles concerning the African issue as well. So I'd love us to, well, top of the page also talks about the ODM party rebels to pay hefty prices as Raila cracks the whip. I'll be explaining that a little bit more as we talk about the Star, which has put it as a headline, as well as varsity funding. Cabinet Secretary extends deadline for loan applications. Students joining universities and technical vocational education institutions now have until October 7th to submit their application after Education CS Machogu extended the deadline by a month. That is on the Daily Nation. Now switching gears to the Standard, also top of the page on climate, the 3.9 trillion shillings on the table for climate work, 3.9 trillion shillings on the table for climate work. President William Ruto managed to get pledges worth $26 billion during the Africa Climate Summit with a promise to push for a financing deal from multilateral lenders and have big polluters pay fair share for crises. That includes the carbon tax, the proposed carbon tax. As a company, if you're emitting harmful gas into the air, you will be eligible to carbon tax. So the Standard has, paged that on page 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7, various issues. Key highlights: 1, the Nairobi Declaration, a comprehensive document outlining Africa's climate aspiration and lays out a roadmap for climate-positive growth and global decarbonization while demanding accountability from the international community. They also highlighted the staggering reality that over 2 trillion shillings flowed from the global south to the global north every year. The financial drain, they said, needed to be reversed. African leaders united to demand climate justice, holding rich nations accountable for their commitments and setting an ambitious agenda for a greener, more equitable future. President William Ruto, the man at the center of this huge debate, who has largely been the face of it, for lack of a better word, as he continues to voice his, to voice at least the interest of not just Kenya, but also East Africa, but also Africa at large on the fight against climate change. Africa wins 4 trillion shillings pledge. A summit insists on climate justice. The heads of state hoping that these pledges will be fulfilled and the 4 trillion shillings will be going to the various projects as well. Also on the Standard, teenager with cool robotic invention steals show at the summit. A teenager with cool robotic invention steals show at the summit. What the climate summit means for marginalized communities as well. There's a focus on the marginalized communities, particularly areas of Marsabit, Turkana, Samburu, Mandera, Wajir, Northeastern at large, who are the biggest casualties when we're talking about climate change. So what does the climate summit actually mean? Summits actually mean for the marginalized communities? Now, these tribes make up only 6% of the world population. However, they account for 19% of the extreme poor tribes. And so this is very key for them, especially because majority of the time they're the ones affected by the climate change, where there is no rain, when there's emissions from various places, when they're having to deal with lack of access to clean water, when they're having to deal with lack of access to clean cooking. These are the group that are mostly affected. So the funding will go in a long way, but it's more than just fund. The promises have to be made. There has to be a key focus on these particular groups, because if we just talk about it from just an upward point of view, it may not really have that dire effect that is needed. Also on the Standard, Ogiek's battle to preserve culture, protect ancestral land from abuse. Minerals offer path to clean energy growth. And that is the focus that has been taken by the Standard on climate change. Top of the page as well. Kome, judicial independence under attack. That is a story that is on page 8 of the Standard. Kome, judicial independence is under attack. That is the Chief Justice, Martha Kome. And that is a story that is on page 8 of the Standard. Now, a bit of context. Chief Justice Martha Kome has said independent institutions have encroached on the terrain reserved for the judiciary, and the Judiciary Service Commission posing challenges in facilitating the administration of justice. Justice Kome also noted that the judiciary funding was not operating optimally due to bureaucratic bottlenecks and roadblocks that have been erected by the controller of budget, less funding. And this was said during a speech at the annual Judges Colloquium at the Sarova White Sand Beach Resort in Mombasa. And Kome also noted that Salaries and Remuneration Commission, SRC, has also encroached on the Judiciary or the Judicial Service Commission's mandate to review and make recommendations on the conditions of service of staff of the judiciary, failing outside remuneration and benefits for state officers. Also, top of the page, you have 30 more days to apply for university funding. There's an extension on the deadline, so if you are set to join campus or you're set to join various vocational education training institutions, you have 30 more days for you to apply for the funding from the government in the new education funding or university funding model. The Star takes a different headline. Raila kicks out Ruto allies in radical purge. Raila kicks out Ruto allies in radical purge. 3 members of parliament have been fined between 250,000 and 1 million shillings and have been compelled to apologize. And, you know, this is basically what is called house cleaning or housekeeping. Jalango, Ojienda, Elisha, Karoli and Ochanda expelled from ODM party in a move that was basically spearheaded by Raila Odinga as the party leader. Now, a legal battle is brewing after ODM expelled 5 rebel legislators for violating the party's constitution by going against its resolution and associating with the ruling Kenya Kwanza Alliance. The move to tame the rebels follows a National Executive Commission or Committee Council, what we call NEC meeting, chaired by the party leader Raila Odinga. So MP Elisha Odhiambo of GEM, Caroli Omondi of Suba South, Gideon Ochanda of Bondo, and Felix Oduor of Langata, as well as Kisumu Senator Tom Ojienda, are expected to appeal the decision as they were expelled from the party. Now, Esther Passaris, the Nairobi women representative, was fined 250,000 shillings, which is to be paid within 60 days, and ordered to write an apology letter within 7 days. The party also resolved to revoke the nominations of 4 Kisumu MCAs, including Caroline Opar, Kennedy Adjuang, Peter Obaso, and Regina Kizito for gross misconduct. Other rebel MPs and MCAs were instructed to write an apology letter and pay fines of various amounts to the party. So Raila kicks out President Ruto's associates in radical purge of ODM, what we now popularly call going to State House for Development group. So that particular group have seen casualties who have been expelled from the party, pending, of course, an appeal by them to the political parties dispute tribunal. And this is something that could go all the way to the courts, perhaps the High Court, as we've seen previously. So according to the Political Parties Act, a member who propagates the idea of another political party, propagates basically the idea of another political party, is deemed to have resigned from the political party. This means that the 5 legislators will have lost their seats if the party goes ahead to remove their names from its register. So if the MPs, you know, go all the way to the political parties dispute tribunal and, you know, the decision by the ODM does not or is not overturned, well, these 5 people will lose their seats, which means the country could be heading to another by-election soon, pending that appeal. So there have been previous attempts by various political parties to expel members, but never ends in favor of the political parties themselves, but always in favor of those who are being called rebels or quote-unquote rebels. I'll give you examples. For instance, previous expulsions attempted by political parties, including ODM, Jubilee, and ANC, have proven futile due to the long and winding appeal mechanism available to offending members. The next battlefront will be at the political parties dispute tribunal, where the MPs and MCAs are expected to move to oppose their expulsion from the party and revocation of their nominations. For instance, former nominated Senator Isaac Mwaura, who lost his seat after the Jubilee Party accused him of promoting ideals of UDA, was reinstated by the High Court later on, despite the fact that the political disputes tribunals upheld that decision by the party. Elsewhere, we've also seen previously where faction allied to UDA at that, Uhuru Kenyatta era, like Mary Senator Falhad Deko Imani, Naomi Jilo Wako, Victor Pringei, and Millicent Omanga, when their nominations were revoked. But the process, however, dragged on until they completed their full terms. We're also looking at cases where the Malindi MP at that time, Aisha Juma, who is now the Public Service CS, and was accused of advancing the DP William Ruto's agenda, was also expelled, but the issue also dragged on until she completed her term. So there have been various attempts, including also by ANC party, to kick out the then Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala for supporting ODM in 2019, but that did not go through. So as much as it is cracking the whip on rebels with expulsions and hefty fines, there's also the end goal. Will it, or will the party achieve what they want to achieve? So that is the headline on the Star this morning, which has also made it to the other newspapers. But also do note, the ODM party also confirms that it will be holding its grassroots by-elections next year. Grassroots by-elections next year. The party's grassroots by-elections or elections, basically to choose the party leaders within the counties and the wards. So that is the big headline that is on the Star. Raila kicks out President Ruto's associates in radical purge of ODM. Also, top of the page, Free Africa, presidents tell Western banks as climate summit ends. Employment Authority, that is the first choice agency, on the spot for failing to rein in on rogue agencies. So what happens next now that there has been a decry of the first choice agency conning people money? What happens next? Those are some of the questions that have been asked, as well as 51 people disappeared or were killed by cops in 6 months, says lobby group. That is between January to June, about 51 people disappeared or were killed by cops within 6 months, as well as ex-Mama Lucy Hospital worker found guilty of child trafficking. He allegedly pocketed about 300,000 Kenyan shillings. Well, those are your headlines. The Star, Raila kicks out Ruto, allies in radical purge. The Daily Nation, what Africa wants concerning the climate summit. The Standard, 3.9 trillion shillings on the table for climate work. And those are your headlines. Well, it is about 7:15, so we'd love to take a quick break, but when we come back, we've got much more on the other side. Stay with Morning Live.
Transforming your world
through the morning rush and the buzz. Find a voice you can trust, a voice of reason, a voice of direction, and a voice of hope.
Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Live. I'm Cynthia Nanjala.
And I'm Dika. Rise and shine, folks. We hope you are ready for an energizing start to your day.
Absolutely. We are here to bring you the latest headlines and trending news stories from the world of politics,
business and finance, health and lifestyle,
agriculture and sports.
So grab your coffee, sit back and get ready for a fantastic morning of engaging discussions and news segments.
Join us through our social media handles, #The Morning Live. This is Morning Live, exclusively on EBN TV.
Every Saturday from 8:30 a.m.
But we should not be afraid to interpret scripture.
Get to know the story behind the Bible. Why was it written? To whom was it written? And what was happening when it was written? Understand, get to know, learn how to properly interpret the scriptures so that you're not deceived.
In the book of Revelation, and we have started to enter into the happenings because these are things that are going to take place hereafter.
Join Pastor Felix Kavoy and his team as they go through the different books of the Bible and give you the theological interpretation of the same.
At the very introduction of the book of Revelation, the book lays clear what is contained in here.
Every Saturday from 8:30 a.m. on The Theology Show, only on EBN, transforming your world.
Watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
Through the morning rush and the buzz, find a voice you can trust, a voice of reason, a voice of direction, and a voice of hope.
Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Live. I'm Cynthia Nanjala.
And I'm Dika. Rise and shine, folks. We hope you are ready for an energizing start to your day.
Absolutely. We are here to bring you the latest headlines and trending news stories from the world of politics,
business and finance, health and lifestyle,
agriculture and sports.
So grab your coffee, sit back and get ready for a fantastic morning of engaging discussions and news segments.
Join us through our social media handles, #The Morning Live. This is Morning Live, exclusively on EBN TV.
You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
She's a force to reckon with. And she's got 3 awards in South Africa, 2 in Zimbabwe at the Kids and Teens Award in March, and was crowned as Star Rising Queen at the Little Miss Africa pageant in South Africa. And then to the farthest right is their manager, Timothy Baraka, who is the one behind all this success, at least part of it or most of it. And they are called the Glowing Gifts Generation. Wow. Karibuni sana. Feel at home. How are you feeling, Precious?
Fine.
You can use the mic. How are you feeling?
Fine.
How do you feel to be here?
Fine.
All right, Tamar, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yes. You look beautiful, by the way, both of you with your crowns.
Thank you.
All right, so perhaps I'll just begin with you, Timothy Baraka. You're the manager of Glowing Gifts Generation. Explain to us a little bit more about the group.
Okay, thank you so much. You have said I'm Timothy Baraka, known as Balozi. Yeah, so Glowing Gifts Generation is a group that deal with talents. That's talents mentorship.
Yeah.
Giving children exposure, telling them that they can be somebody good in future. They can help the country and the society at large. Yeah, so we deal with the talents, motivating and reaching many children across Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to know, how did you meet, Precious and Tamar?
Okay, so about Tamar.
Yeah.
Tamar is one of the best friends of G3, that is international best friend of G3. So we had an anniversary of G3, that was on Saturday. So she was among the guests and she was the guest speaker. So till now she's still here with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Precious
Yes.
is one of us. She's ambassadors of G3 in Kenya.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Precious, you're just 11 years old.
Yeah.
So, where did the passion start from? At what point did you think, oh, I can model, I can do all these amazing things?
It all started when I was 4 years old. And first it started by me wearing my mom's shoes, my mom's clothes, and then I told my auntie, auntie, I can do like this. And then I started showing her, and then she said, by the way, she has a talent. She told my mom, and then my mom told her, I'm too little. And then when I just turned, it was 4.5. I got into EM Africa, where they train models how to model. I stayed there for 6 months, and I trained public speaking and modeling and a bit of dancing. And after that, my mom saw now I had a talent, and my first pageant was Little Miss Africa 2019 when I was 5 years old.
Yeah. What about you, Tamar? Where did it start from?
It started when I was in school.
Yeah.
In school, I used to do public speaking on every event that happened in school. And then I went to this place that they taught me how to speak. Then I saw that I had talent. So, and I also went to modeling classes so that I can be a model.
Yeah. So did it, had you already decided that you want to be a model, or is it something that as you went on with your young age, you just saw, oh, I can model, now I want to be a model? Was it something you had planned, Tamar?
No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
I just discovered my talent.
So how has the support of Mommy and Daddy been like, Precious?
Actually, they've been giving me full support. It has been great since I do a lot of charity. And full support is both of mom and dad. Yeah.
And you, Tamar?
It was very good because if they support us, we'll put Africa around the map.
Yeah. And Timothy, how they're speaking, they're so very purposeful because they want to impact the society, not just Kenya, but also Africa. And like I've read, they've been through different areas. They've been to South Africa. Precious here is Mini Miss Kajiado County. She's also Miss Charity Ambassador, Little Miss Africa 2019. So how is it for them, moving from one place to the other? How are you able to at least manage that movement?
I think that question, the most important thing is the commitment of the parent. Once the parent is committed to support the talent, it becomes easier for the child to do some activities in the community and to reach many things or many people. So to the parents have been supportive very supportive to the child, to the talents. And that is the thing that has made them to reach this far.
Yeah.
And they have done very great things. In fact, they are doing many things. And we believe that through that parent support, they will do a lot. So it has just taken the support from the parent and the hand of God to reach this far.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Tamar, can you remember the first time that you modeled or that you spoke in public? How was it? How were you feeling that day?
That day I felt so confident,
Yeah.
because it was my first time in pageantry, and it was so amazing.
Yeah. So what is it that you want to do as Tamar? What do you want to change within the society? Because, you know, you model for a lot of purposes to end period poverty. So, you know, what is it? Why are you doing this?
I want every child to get their rights. Every child has the right to shelter, food, education, and play. So every child should get that right.
What about you, Precious? You know, you're a girl child ambassador. You're very passionate about education and development for little kids just like you.
Yes.
So, you know, is this also why you do a lot of pageantry as well and you know, charity work?
Yes. I usually want to change the way some people get dropping out of school and they decide to work like they are at rural areas. They actually drop out of school to go and watch over the cattle. Yeah, you see. Now when they grow up, it's hard for them to find a job. And most of them, you find that they can even get this peer pressure and then they start drugs. Yeah.
I mean, you're just 11 years old, but the way you're speaking, somebody will think like you're a teenager. So, you know, who is what kind of mentorship are you looking forward to, or who is mentoring you for now?
For now, the person who's mentoring me is my mom and my dad, but mostly is my mom because she's the one who's around. And whenever I have an event, she's the one who knows.
Yeah. So what about you, Tamar? Also, mommy behind the huge success. Yeah. So, what more does mommy tell you to do about your, you know, I'd say this is now a career because they've started so young. So, what more does mommy tell you to do about your career? What more does mommy tell you to do?
My mother tells me so that I can be confident, and also she makes me go to the less privileged, and I help them with what I have, because there was a time you were helped too, so you should also help the ones that need to be helped.
So Timothy, this is potential.
Exactly.
This is potential seated right here.
Exactly.
So how do we guide them the right path?
Guiding these young people, first of all, you should let them know that it is because of God they are doing all this. So first of all, you make them to be God-fearing children. They grow up in a godly way. Tell them to respect God, to respect one another, to respect their parents. So even in our core values, discipline and obedience is one of them.
Yeah.
So when you direct the child in the right way, in a godly manner, God will give you a good direction, and now will not be leading. It is God will be leading through you. So that is how we do. We have made our God to be our first priority, and then the talents follows with other things.
Yeah.
So it is just the wisdom of God that help us to guide them. Yeah.
Yeah. So Precious, you're just 11 years old, and you also go to school. How are you able to balance between the two?
I tell this to myself. Yes, I have a talent, but if I grow up, am I just going to depend about the talent only? I have to study, like I just said. Education is the key to success.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. What about you, Tamar?
I make it equal. I don't go to pageants in time of school. Because if you go in pageants time of school, what are you going to do in the future? Struggling, taking care of cattle, you have to find a job. But if you don't do schoolwork, what's going to happen?
Yeah. I mean, very good questions they've asked. You know, what are you going to do if you don't go to school and you focus on the talent and forget the education part? Because that is what we need to be telling young kids. Yes, there's a talent. We can promote the talent, but at the same time also let's not forget about the education. So I can imagine with just the busy schedule that they have, as a manager, what do you do now to ensure that the priorities are still right and still in check, that as much as we are doing this, education comes first?
Yeah, the way my girls are saying here, education is the key to success. And we don't do the talents all the time because we have time for talents, mentorship, we have time for learning.
Yeah.
So in most cases, we do the talents during the holidays. That is the time that you'll get that children are free. In fact, that is the best time to keep or to be engaged in talents. Because when the school closes, you get that if children are not doing something important like the mentorship of talents, you'll get them being engaged into different things which are not good. So in most cases, we really value the holiday when it comes to the time of talents mentorship. So when the school closed, like right now, we are now in talents. That is why we are here.
Yeah.
Tama is here all the way from Zimbabwe because it's now holiday. But when the school resume, now the children now start to do it, to concentrate with their academic issues. Yes.
Now, Precious, you've got all these titles. Are you able to tell us each and every one of them and just, what it means for you?
Okay. Little Miss Africa second runners-up. It's actually, that day was actually my first day.
Yes.
So, it's actually my first search, so I like it very much.
Yes.
And Miss Photogenic was also my first one. Actually, it was before
Little Miss Africa?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now we did it at the same time. And that time I won because it was actually meant to on the media. Now because I was there trying to tell my mom, oh mama, please tell your friends to pay for me this, and then I won. Okay, Miss Kajiado County and Miss Popularity. I actually won without knowing. It was actually one event, but I got out with 3 sashes and 1 crown.
Wow.
So those were actually my best. That was actually my best pageant because it was actually my first day. It was day in the middle. Now I usually take those as a priority of mine. And Little Miss Gorgeous Nairobi County, I actually just told my mom, Mama, I love that crown. And then she told me, just work hard for it.
Yeah.
And I did it the best I can, and I found I've won. And this charity ambassador, I won because I do most charity.
You do most charity?
Yes.
Are you able to tell us what charity you do exactly?
Okay. So, as I said, I have a foundation, but also I have that same foundation. We have different projects such as promoting education in rural areas where we donate school uniform and writing materials. The other one is padding the Mashinani girls. I also have a group for Boy Child Love. We don't forget the boy child. And we also go to the elderlies and we give them clothes and food. Another one, we also go, we are actually volunteers at Ongata Special Home and Namintokera Rescue Center. Ongata Special Home, they have severe cerebral palsy. We actually take them wheelchairs every year. And Namintokera, they are HIV positive.
Yeah. What about you, Tamar? Last year you got 3 awards in South Africa. You got 2 in Zimbabwe. You've also won Kids and Teen Awards. So are you able to tell us what these awards are and these pageants that you've also participated in?
Okay, so first I won Miss Zimbabwe 2022. I won the 8 to 9 years old, which was very amazing, and it was my second pageant. I feel very great about it.
Yeah.
And then secondly, I went to Kids and Teen Hub, where I actually got in the top 5, and then I was selected.
Yes. Are you also a radio and kids radio show host? So, how does it feel when you're hosting, other kids or other guys in your show?
It's very fun because you have to talk. You talk what other kids are thinking in their mind.
Yeah.
Not to do what you think only and forget other kids.
Star Rising Queen as well at the Little Miss Africa pageant in South Africa. So basically you've toured a lot of African countries. How has been the experience?
It was very good and I loved it.
Yeah. You go with mommy to all these awards?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because every child has to travel to other countries and see their situations and try to help them with their situations.
So, Timothy, the big part of it is funding as well, because they're touring a lot of African countries. They require, plane tickets, they require food, they require accommodation, and so many other things, the dresses that they wear. How is the funding a big of a challenge for the kids?
Sometimes it becomes a challenge even to the parents. I know it is not easy.
Yeah.
That's why in the beginning I said that it needs a very commitment.
Committed, yeah.
So you'll get that maybe the child is supposed to participate or contest in a pageant somewhere, or supposed to attend as a guest, and then you get that maybe the financial issue is there. Maybe there's no money to make her or him travel. So you get that there's a challenge. But all in all, what is just needed is commitment. Because if you commit yourself to do something, there is no way that you can maybe say that I'm defeated. That is to give it's like to give the devil the chance. So you just say that I will make it, and when you say that I will make it, God opens the door, and then you get yourself making it.
Yeah.
So I know it is a challenge to some, but with God, it becomes possible.
Yeah, so is it like 100% funding that is from the parents, or are there other sponsors that are also coming in?
There's no sponsors, it's just commitment from the parent. The little they get, they share it with the talents of the child.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Tamar, you're just 9 years old, what are you looking at the future for you? How do you see the future for yourself? Is this something that you want to do for the rest of your life, Tamar?
I think I would want to do modeling. And I would also want to have my profession.
What about you, Precious? How is the future looking like for you?
Actually, I would like to continue with modeling, but I do a different job, let's say like tourist. Yeah.
So you also want to do tourism?
Yes.
What do you want to do when you grow up?
I want to be a pilot.
You want to be a pilot. So a pilot and a model. Wow. Well, you want to be a tourist?
Yes.
You want to do tourism now?
Yes.
So doing tourism and doing modeling. Wow. So, I mean, I'm just blown away. I'm just blown away literally, because what was I doing at 9 years old or at 11 years old? I can't even remember. So the best, step forward for these young kids is mentorship. So who are some of the people that have come in to mentor the young ladies here?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. We have different mentors. Now because this one, they mostly do the pigeons, and also they have also other talents. But now I talk about the modeling. The person that is there to help us, maybe to stand with us in different ways to support the talents. We have Miss Tyra Angel. Tyra Angel is a very great friend of G3.
Yeah.
She's a mentor of G3. And she's the person that we can say, this is the person that you can stand in the gap when we have some need or some needs that need financial support. So she's the little Miss World, think so? So she's a very good person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we wrap this conversation up, because we're almost out of time. So Tamar, you want to be a pilot and you also want to do modeling, and there are kids who are watching you at home and they say, when I just want to be like Tamar. What can you tell the young kids out there who are watching you?
I always tell them, be confident in yourself. If you do not believe in yourself, then who will believe in you?
So confidence first.
Yes.
What about you, Precious? Young kids that are watching you, what would you tell them?
I would tell them, whatever you want to do, just do it. Because when actually it comes to the day of judgment, you'll be told, what did you do with the talent?
The day of the judgment, yeah.
And I usually tell the people who always watch me, always have confidence in yourself. And if you have you have a passion of something, you will focus on it. It's not like I hate something and then I do it. So it's like when I have passion, I may do this actually nicely.
Yeah.
So I actually tell them to have confidence in themselves, and if they have passion on it, go for it.
Yeah. So as we wrap it up, who do you want to thank this morning? Who are you saying thank you to for their support?
I want to tell Mom, Dad, and all the people who are watching, thank you. And by the way, show some love to this video. And I want to tell you that I have social medias. You can follow me on Instagram as Wangare Precious7. Wangare Facebook page, we have Wangare_Precious. Facebook account, we have Wangare Precious. And TikTok, we have Precious Pesh, the model. Yes.
What about you, Tamar? Who would you like to say thank you to?
I would like to thank the company called Vida, which I'm actually the brand ambassador of it. And also I would like to thank my mother, Auntie Zotkwa, for making me come to Kenya and actually talk on this radio station, this TV station.
Yeah, TV station. All right, so,
And also, I would like you to, my Facebook account is Tama Kunashe, and my Instagram is Queen Tama ZW. And my Google account is also Queen Tama ZW.
Wow. Timothy, you know, I'm actually just blown away because, you know, the confidence that they have and how they speak here, you know, just to say they speak even better than some of the other guests that have been coming here because they're just so confident. And so this is the future actually seated right here. So as we wrap it up and you'll get to have the final word, there are young kids who are watching out here and they want to also, you know, do what they do, but they just don't know where to start from. What would you tell them?
Okay, if you are watching me there outside and maybe you are thinking that, okay, you have a passion to do the talents and you don't know where to start from, you don't know how to go about it, you can search us on Facebook. We are on Facebook at Glowing Gifts International. We are also on Twitter. We are also on YouTube. We are also on Instagram. So when you find us there, we'll give you a good direction. But don't stay there. You have a talent and then you just relax. No, don't relax if you have a talent. Please come up, show your talent to people, and it will be of help to other people.
All right.
And it will also be helpful to you.
All right, so that is where we wrap it up. Thank you so much to the two beautiful girls right here, Precious Wangare, who is just seated next to me, as well as Tamar Kunashe, who is next to her. They're pigeons. They're doing amazing work out here. They have visited many countries. They're charity ambassadors. They're girl child ambassadors. They stand for purpose, ending poverty, shaming, ending education stigma as well for young girls. So, I mean, these are big themes that they are working on, and I'm just so inspired this morning. So asanteni sana kwa you speak Swahili?
No, I only hear a few things and I speak a few things.
You speak, what can you speak in Swahili?
Asante, sasa.
Wow. So hopefully, you know, in due time, you'll get more of the words. So thank you so much to both of you for coming in, as well as the parents who are also just, you know, cheering the little girls. You're doing an amazing work. I can see a lot of feedback that is coming in, a lot of love from people who have been watching. Shalom Museba says, my baby girl. There's Nyasha Museba who says, Tamar. We also have Shi Rufaro Zengea who says, these kids are amazing. Well done to the parents. Keep supporting the kids. We also have Mishek Thomas says, Mwana wangu iyeye. I believe that should be Zimbabwean language. Could be. It's Zimbabwean language, all right. So we also have people from Zimbabwe watching. So thank you so much to all those who have been watching and supporting these young girls. Please, if you've just coming in and you've missed this amazing interview, you can rewatch this live on Facebook as well as on YouTube on EBN TV. Follow these amazing girls on their social media platforms. Keep supporting them because your support will take them very far. As well as organizers and sponsors, if you'd love to come in and help these young kids, this is just the opportunity to do it because this is the future seated right here. So that is where we want to wrap it up. I hope
you.